Hello and welcome to the third episode of Variations on Libations, and for the third edition of this, initial run of Variations on Libations, a Cocktails with Jeffrey Presents mini-series or something like that, we're going to be tackling the Benhattan. And this, of course, was suggested by one Benjamin Lee Eves, friend of the channel, and the variation is really simple, just as I would argue just a normal Manhattan is a traditionally prepared Manhattan cocktail. But what you're going to need, if you want to follow along, is a rye whiskey. I'm using a single barrel release from Peerless called Humidor. It is 4 years old, and it has notes of sweet smoke, orange zest, tobacco, and cacao. Now, traditionally this is made with sweet vermouth, but as per Benjamin Eves' request, we're going to try it out with Lilet Rogue, which is I believe, an aromatized wine, a fruitier variety of Lilet. Lilet, of course, is probably most famously known for Kina Lilet, the ingredient that stopped being produced in the 1980s. That was part of the Vesper Martini, and I don't know. There's a lot of different Lilets that represent different flavors, and this is a darker, more fruity one, I've been told. And of course, instead of Angostura bitters, I'm going to be using orange bitters. And in theory, one could go with both, but I thought I would just go real heavy on the orange for today's episode. And of course, we're going to garnish it with a maraschino cherry, and of course, I'm going with the Fallout 9 bright, shiny, and new colors for this particular cocktail. Now, of course, we're going to stir our cocktail, but first we're going to have our ice tin, our shaker tin, filled with ice. So, yeah, we're going to start out the actual prep by taking 2 ounces of our single barrel rye. Really, it's up to you what kind of whiskey you use, but I believe Benjamin requested a rye or a Canadian whiskey, and this has been one of my really attention-grabbing whiskeys that I've had recently, so I thought I'd give it a go. Now, Lilet I've never had before, so I might just take a little bit from the top. That is very... It's more like grape juice than I've ever had in really practically any wine setting. It's very sweet, and I am very interested to see how this will turn out. And of course, we're now going to add in our orange bitters, and if you want to go light, you could just add in like a dash or two. I'm just going to basically go until my heart's contented, or however one would say that. But we're going to add in a metric shit ton of orange bitters, essentially. And the reasoning for that is to kind of counterbalance the sweeter flavors that we're going to be getting from the maraschino cherry, just because this is just gangly, just sweet, and the Lilet Blanc. And of course, I've never had orange bitters, and of course, Cocktails with Jeffrey, we have to go boldly. Not bravely or smartly, just boldly. And with that in mind, we're going to stir this drink and then strain it. So join me, why don't you? with that out of the way, we're now going to strain the drink into our glass. Out of all the cocktails that I have made for this series, I would argue this is the best looking and most similar to its intended version, the traditional version. Now, much like with all the other cocktails presented here, I have never had this drink before, so I am perhaps not the person to be comparing anything to anything in relation to how this actually will end up tasting, but I don't care. And of course, our abysmal cherry, and we're just gonna give it an hibiscus. Flop it right in. Now, this is also a drink I could imagine one using an orange peel in, but, you know, keep it simple, keep it neat. Off to a good time. It does really taste quite exceptional. Now, of course, one might want to go light on the orange bitters, but a really refined, classy cocktail, and if you yourself are refined and classy, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you next time, whether it be an episode of Cocktails with Jeffrey, a return to Variations on Libations, which will most likely happen at some point in the future. Comment below if you'd like to see that, or if you'd like to see any specific cocktails taken on by me, the ultimate master of mixing. But until then, I've been Jeff E Petrone, and I don't know.